My name is Scott Forsino. I'm an associate broker at eXp Realty. I founded PlugIntro for the sole purpose of enabling real estate agents and their referral partners to maximize their local exposure. I have Arturo Viramontes today, who's a very important lender and an officer of the corporation. I've been following him online. I'd like to think that we have a nice connection, and I want to hear more about lending in your company and how you work with referral partners and clients, if you can. So good afternoon. Hi, Arturo. Talk to me. Tell me about your new move and your background, and give me some information, please.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, so recently joined Amerifund Home Loans. So far, the move's been great. And just the first, getting onto the first 30 days that we've been here, it's just the processing team's phenomenal. So we've been able to close most of our files earlier than expected. So, not just our agent partners, but our clients are happy, to say the least. But I've been in this side of the industry. When I say this side, I'm not new to credit and finance. I've been doing that for like 15 years. But I started my mortgage career in January of 2019. So 3 years in, going on 4. And before this, my longest span, I spent with a local independent buy here, pay here dealership. I was there for 10 years. I helped run and operate that company. We grew it from 3 car lots to I think he's got over 20 now here locally in Arizona. We also did title loans, so stuff like that. So as far as credit, credit and finance is nothing new to me. I was just on the other side of the ocean, different financing terms and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely doing mortgages and being able to help people reach that goal is a lot different than handing somebody a $500 loan at 204%.
204%.
Yeah, Arizona laws. That's okay by AZ laws, right? So
204%.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anything below the 500 or below, you can charge 204%. Once you hit 501, you can go to 180. And the next tier is 156, and the lowest tier is 120.
That's crazy. I can't. So $400. What's 100% is 400.
Well, figure $1,000 is like $70 every 2 weeks on pure interest.
Wow. Okay. So that's not mortgages. That's for sure.
Right. So definitely, like I said, from the other ocean, right? Still financing and stuff like that. You're still serving the community. People need financing. They can't get finance elsewhere, but that's a completely different feeling and completely different thing when you actually help somebody buy a home for their family, right? You're helping them accomplish that dream of buying that home for their family. Or if it's a current homeowner, we're helping them with cash out, and we're just helping them maybe lower their monthly obligations out of pocket, lowering that down so they can focus on other things that they would like to do and, do stuff like that. So, this market, definitely we've seen the shift, we've seen the changes. It's been a crazy, 24, 36 months with COVID. Rates dropped to an all-time low. People were just taking advantage. Right now we're seeing the switch, right? We're going back to, rates are climbing again. But what remains high is equity, right? People have more equity right now than ever. So just being able to educate people on what is possible and what they can do with that equity, that's something it's not just a job. It's like I enjoy helping people, I enjoy educating people, and really that's the approach that I take with my clients. I've always trained people, I've always taught people, even at the other jobs that I've held. I've always been the one to do the research and show people how to do this, how to do that. I've trained employees and trained people how to do tax returns and all kinds of stuff. And I take what I did before, and I apply that to my consumers, my clients, but educating them in the mortgage process, educating them on what is possible to do if they have that equity. So that's the approach that I like to take, because I don't just tell people it is what it is. It's like, no, I show them where the numbers come from. Why is it like this? Why can't you buy that house for 400, but you can buy that one for 350, right? I take that teacher mentality, because if I educate enough people, then even if they don't qualify, but I've showed them why. I've gotten referrals from people that I couldn't get approved because I took the time to explain to them, to educate them, and then I give them a game plan of like, look, it's not a no, it's just a not right now, right? We're not saying no, it's just not going to happen right now. You need to do this, this, and this, whether it's a credit issue, educate them on how to get rid of those collections. I've had plenty of people bump their scores 40, 60, 100 points if they take initiative and listen to my advice and do what I advise them to do. I have other people that are too busy or just not, they can't. So then we refer those to, a credit repair company and let them do the heavy lifting for them. But I always tell people, hey, this is the reason. I've had people come to me after they've seen 2, 3, 4 other loan officers, right? But they just think, oh yeah, sorry, you don't qualify. And it's like, well, what did they tell you? Well, they just said I don't qualify. Did they tell you why you don't qualify? Did they tell you what happened? Or did you how far off are you? So I end up getting a lot of those loans done because either the other loan officer just missed something, right? Or they didn't see something. And definitely what helps is my past experience with credit. Like I know a lot about the credit. I know how to read the credit. I know the difference between a collection and a charge off. I know the difference between open repossession. If it was repossessed X amount of time ago, it should not be open. It should be charged off by now. There's just small details that have helped me. I think one of my best stories ever was one of my best friends growing up. He referred his mom to me, and when we were doing the initial just conversation, she seemed like just not like she was just going through the process because her son said, "Go talk to Arturo." She kind of had no enthusiasm. This was about 2 years ago, so homes weren't as expensive as they are now, but still she was only getting approved for like 150K. And even back then, there just weren't any homes around for 150. So basically it was, you can't buy a house. So by the time she got to me, and at this point, I didn't know that I'd been like the 5th guy. I just knew that she'd been somewhere else. I found that I found that piece of data, whatever you want to call it, on the credit report that the other loan officer missed. And I was able to get on a 3-way phone call with the servicer, verify a couple of things, got the credit report corrected the way it needed to be. And the issue was, in fact, a repossession that you have to count. They were counted as an open collection. So it increased her debt to income ratio. It increased that debt to income ratio that she couldn't qualify for more than 150. So the solution was get it reported the right way. Now it's a charge-off. Charge-offs don't count towards the debt to income ratio. Now her ratio dropped. And I was able to get her approved for like 210,000. So the
I didn't
difference
know that. That's interesting.
150,000 to 210,000. Now she's in the market. And when I told her that she can go shopping for houses, she was like, "What? Are you serious?" Like she couldn't believe it. We closed that loan not 3 months. We closed the loan basically 30 days later. And this is at the end is when she actually started crying and said, "I can't believe this happened." She goes, I went through like 5 different loan officers before I talked to you. And I was like, she's like, "As a matter of fact, I only talked to you because my son kept telling me to talk to you." So that was where I found out. I knew she was somewhere else, but I didn't know she'd gone to 5 different loan officers before she reached me. And I was the one that was able to get it done.
They didn't take the time. Maybe they didn't have the knowledge. They didn't care.
Right. So, and that's, that goes back to where like a lot of my previous experience definitely helped me out. Nobody's going to know that right off the bat, right? Like they're going to look at the credit report and they're just going to do what everybody else did, add it to their debt to income. So definitely that much of the experience is, I guess you can say that definitely helped me in this situation, but that's the approach that I take as I go, I meet agents that say, "How fast can you give me a pre-qual?" Stuff like that. And I'm upfront and honest with them. I said, "Look, if you're looking for that lender that's going to give you a pre-qual in 5 minutes, so we're probably not a good fit." I was like, there's a lot to it, right? You can't just plug numbers in a computer and generate a pre-qual. Like, yes, anybody can do that, right? We can all plug numbers in and generate it and make it look good. I was like, just so you know, I need to talk to your customer. We need to go over a couple of things. I need documents so that I can do proper income calculations. There's a lot of things that go into a pre-qual. So, my real answer is, probably about 24 hours after I receive all the documents that I need from the borrower. That would be a closer estimate. But if you think that I'm just going to pick up the phone and you're going to say I need a pre-qual in 5 minutes, that's and anybody that does that,
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's been an issue for me forever. Where I have listings. I've had listings for all these years, and they say I'm going to send you the pre-qual. One person had it dated April the other day. April. So things have changed. And I mean, it says on the bottom, and we all know it wasn't underwritten. I mean, it says subject to verification. Then why are we doing this? It makes no sense. And then there's been this crazy industry thing of that's not a pre-qual, that's a pre-approval. I mean, there's no difference. When you show me, if you're really shopping for a home, go out, get a pre-commitment, get everything done, except you need an appraisal and you need a contract. I mean, it's really crazy. And I blame realtors because they have the low standard. And then once in a while you find a good lender like you where you give them something and they want, snap to it. It's Saturday at 3. What can you do? Well, the lender's on the beach. What can I do?
Yeah. And obviously every situation is different. So there's a lot of them. And if you get a clean cut file, 740 plus straight out salary, there's not a lot of stuff to calculate there. They've been at their job for 10 years. There's no variable income involved. I mean, you might run into a file where you can probably do that in 10 minutes, of course, but everybody's different, right? Every file is different. You can't treat everyone the same. So the majority of them are not going to be a 5 to 10 minute pre-qual. I guess unless you have that golden file, it's like 10 years salary, has no debt. I mean, where everything lines up perfect, then yeah, at that point, there's not much work to do on those type of files. But the majority is, they either have some credit challenges or they have multiple jobs between here and there. So you have to determine, hey, is this going to be variable income? Is this not going to be variable income? There's a lot of things that go into it. And I think if you're trying to rush something too fast, not only the agent, but the lender, I think you're doing a disservice to your consumer if you're just trying to get them a pre-qual like that. Like, I understand the urgency that they found a house now, but those are the conversations that we need to have up front with the consumer. When I talk to somebody about buying a home, the first question is your first time? I need to know how much they know of the process or how much they don't know. And then that's where I start with the education is right up front. I set proper expectations. Listen, we need to go through this now before you start looking at homes so that when you do look at a home and you fall in love with one, then you can submit your offer right away. The last thing that I want is you find a house that you want to buy and you love it and you can't submit the offer because, now you need a pre-qual, but I've been waiting for your documents for the last week and you haven't sent me anything, but now you want a pre-qual. And I tell them up front, I will give your agent the pre-qual letter. I will let you go shopping when you've given me all the information that I requested and I've gone over it, right? Once everything's done, then that's when you go. So it's just, to me, it's like I mentioned, it's just education. And basically that's my thing is as soon as I talk to somebody, I give them expectations of how I work and what I expect from them in return in order for me to provide them with good service, not just, obvious speed is a good thing, but there's a couple things where like, hey, you got to make sure these things are right. We're dealing with people's houses here. It's not a car. It's not a title loan. It's not, it's we're talking about people's roof over their heads that we have to make sure that the loan closes. So that's how I handle when I talk to agents. I tell them the same thing.
And even on your side, if the buyer doesn't give you anything and they're shopping around, I'm sure you'd like to have a more committed client. If they really accepted you as their provider, then they would give you the documents. It makes no sense if they're not all in. Then why are we doing this? Then it makes no sense. I've heard of many times when people who give pre-quals never end up with the client because they already have. It's not regulated. It's not fair. It's an industry problem.
Yeah, you can, and that's another way to tell when you know that you have a serious buyer, right, or consumer, or even if it's a refi. Those that are truly interested in like our rate, I usually get documents within 24 hours. Some of them send me documents the day of, but you kind of start seeing the ones that you've sent them your needs list or the documents that we need, and it's been a day or two. Sometimes I understand people are busy, but after like a whole week, I mean, you can find one day to get all that stuff in. You kind of start realizing like, okay, maybe he's not in a rush. They don't need to buy right away. They're not that serious, and that's okay. If they just wanted information, then that's fine too, because that's the whole thing, is just educating. I've had people come back to me after 6 months and they're like, hey, Arturo, do you remember me? And I save everybody's number on my phone. right? So everybody I talk to, I save it on there so that if I do get a call, I know exactly who it is.
Mhm.
So like, hey, do you remember me? I was like, yeah, we talked about back in March. I was like, I was like, or, you know, and they're like, oh yeah, well, you know, and then they start telling me what happened and they weren't ready, but they like to move forward now, you know,
Yeah, and that makes
that's
sense.
okay. Yeah.
To me, that makes sense when you're dealing with a borrower, but when you have an agent that's trying to actually represent them in the purchase of a home, that's someone that you could look to. I would say to the agent, look, you give me a referral. Are you guys really in a deal? What are we doing here?
Yeah. You know, I think the agents could have a potential to maybe vet their consumers a little bit more. But you
Hmm.
know, again, I'm here to help all the way around, you know. So sometimes you do get those where like they're just not ready. And it's just a matter of just either coming up with a way to keep following up, you know, using some sort of drip campaign, even if it's just monthly, because these people are going to buy a house sooner or later, you know, whether they're not ready yet because they just don't qualify just yet, or maybe because they just wanted information and weren't necessarily ready to take that next step. They're going to buy it sooner or later. And just because they talk to me doesn't mean they're going to come right back to me, right? So unless we stay in their mind with what we do and keep reminding them of who we are and what we do, they're gonna might end up with somebody else. So put them on some sort of drip campaign, even if it's just a monthly email that goes out after they've kind of ghosted you, right? It seems like they've lost interest, or we haven't really talked in a couple of weeks or a month, but just some sort of communication that goes out every month, because it's like it's advertisement. What's advertisement, right? These commercials that are on the air, on radio or TV, like you, they're in your brain, but until you need that service, it doesn't spark, right? So like if you need to get your tire changed right now, where would you go? You know, one thing that pops in my mind is Discount Tire or Big O Tires. Those are like the two, right? Why?
Right,
Because you
but
see commercials all the time.
you make a good point, and I'm with the EXP Realty. I've owned a title company. I practiced law in this area since the '90s. So trust was everything, and I'm sure you'll agree. Over time, all the financial markets and all the technology has been pushing the consumer directly to the provider. They're trying to skip you and your referral partners. So I say that trust is under attack, where if the way Zillow put people in touch with houses, I think that now the technology is putting people directly, like the Super Bowl had Rocket Mortgage, $30 million.
Right.
So, but that's just the consumer, like you say, advertising and getting your attention. There's so much more if you can earn attention. I think that there's so much content out there, and the content is really packaged at someone like yourself who's letting you know how you do your business. That's the best content there is. And that content I call user generated. And if there's a chance for people to let their referral partners know that they're really, really capable of performing their services, and even better, a way to assist each other, gain more introductions. That's the point of PlugIntro is to take what you guys do and to make it better known and more valuable to the agents, and really cultivate reciprocity. Because if you're not giving someone something of value, or especially in this case, a digital position within your own platform, a local business media channel, then what are you doing? Why would you expect real relationships with realtors or other, referral partners? That's super important to me. That's everything, because then you have a way to control it. You have a way to give input versus hoping and praying and crossing your fingers for referrals.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The more value we can give, you know, then obviously the more we're worth, right? So the more value there is in that partnership, in that relationship. And I just try to apply both. Like I said, it's just, you know, you hear me repeating myself, but it's all education. To me, like I'm not worried about, like, I don't take a look at it as like I got to close this loan. I don't think like I got to close this lead. Is whoever's in front of me, whether it's an agent or it's a consumer, it's like, what do you need to learn? What do you want to know, right? And obviously, in the business we're in, it's how do I buy a house, right? That's the education that we're providing. But I never try to make people feel pressured into, you know. And if they ask me about other loan officers, I'm like, that's fine. I was like, you should go talk to more than one person, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay, you know. So I think when you respond like that to people, they're like you said, it builds trust. Like, oh, like this guy's not worried about me going somewhere else. I'm like, no, you know why? Because there's only one of me. So it's you got to make that. It's got to be. People are going to do business if they like you, if they respect you, and they trust you. So just being honest and being open with them, like, I don't mind, like, go ahead, show me what else you find, and I'll do my best. But it's like, I don't try to like, oh no, don't let anybody else pull your credit, because and that's a scare tactic that a lot of LOs do, is like, don't let anybody else do that, because it could jeopardize. So what do? They're afraid to shop. They're afraid to go out there and talk to another LO because they don't want to lose their pre-qual. I'm like, no, go ahead. I was like, it's not a problem. Let me know what you find out.